Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's ODTN use case team call. It's been a while. Sorry for having to delay a few of them. I have been very busy with the Volta group and team and in different other meetings. So that's why I had to postpone some of these calls. And also, in general, there wasn't really a need because there wasn't really a huge amount of work getting done. But I'm glad we are here today. As usual, the call is public and recorded, so please be mindful of whatever you share with the team. So let me start up with saying that thanks to a contribution from the community, there is now a very important patch that was put into ONOS that allows us for an automatic retry of the connection to the devices if such a device disconnects from ONOS. Before, the only way for you to do this was remove the netcfg for that device and add it back, and that would re-trigger the connection to the device. But now, thanks to the patch that you see here that has been merged, we now have this retry mechanism that as long as there is an object in the network configuration that has that device ID and the device information in there, we now automatically, periodically retry that connection. To avoid the retrying a connection for a single device, the way to do so is to remove the device from the netcfg. So if you do netcfg minus minus remove devices and the device ID, it would remove the key for that device in the netcfg. And that would yield ONOS not to retry the connection for that device. But this is very useful because it basically accounts for temporary network disconnections, devices that get rebooted, and things like this that were not accounted for before. So this is being done on master. And I also need to backport it to 2.4, ONOS 2.4. The reason for the backport is coming up in a second. So if you guys are interested in how this was done, I would encourage you to take a look at this patch over here. It's a very simple patch, actually. Most of the stuff was already there. And it's just added a frequency in seconds, a retry frequency, an executor for that retry, and it just schedules it whenever we start or change that value, and that does just calls connect devices, and that connect devices gets every configuration object, and just if it's not available, just try to connect to it. This is not available, works both during the startup of the ONOS or the devices, because the devices are not even present, so it is available, we return false, or when the device is present but has disconnected. So that's how we got it to work. Any questions? No? Okay, I guess you guys can go ahead and try it. I'll backport it to 2.4. It's an action item for myself to do so, because okay. And the reason why I need to backport to 2.4 is because the 2.5 release is coming out in a few days. I think the scheduled date is end of November. The issue with the 2.5 release is that there was a bunch of code that was removed from the system, and the ODTN application, the ODTN service app still works, but there are some pieces of the functionality that don't work. So if you really want the ODTN application fully fledged as it was in 2.4, just use 2.4. What I plan to do is I actually plan to split out the ODTN application from the ODTN drivers. The ODTN drivers are perfectly fine. The ODTN application, I want to make sure that is totally independent. There are a few interdependencies between those, so that's something that I want to remove those interdependencies, and worst case, create a few more apps to get this in a better and proper shape. But if you're particularly interested in a very, very stable system, and or you see errors in the master and you don't really know what's going on and the applications don't start, I would encourage you to go back to 2.4, just git check out ONOS origin/master origin/ONOS 2.4, and that would be safer if you see errors and if you see issues for the ODTN application. I would go back to that. I'll update everybody when that is done, that decouplement and cleanup of the code. It's something that I plan to do. It's just that I didn't really have the time before this release because of the Volta commitments that I have. But the ODTN application starts fine. It's just a few minor things here and there, like netconf config sync and things like that might not work, but the most functionality, like the TAPI northbound, it does work. So that shouldn't be any issue. Any questions?
Andrea, I'm Alessio. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly fine, Alessio. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is most related to the next bullet on the agenda, but maybe it is also related to this one, because so I had a quick chat this morning with the guys from ADVA. You know that we collaborated with them for the driver of their transponder.
Yes.
And they said that in the last test they had with 2.5 they had many errors messages that they were not understanding. So maybe it's this same reason. Is it possible for?
It is possible. There are a couple of things that I would suggest in that case. One of them is, well, definitely try and understand what's going on. There has been some fixes that went in like possibly a week ago to make this to make at least this usable. Like 3 weeks ago or something like that was not really usable. It was failing installation of the application and things like that. At least right now the application installs and deploys. So at least it's there and it doesn't throw any error on installation because of the removal of some of the components. And if you guys are interested, just make sure that you have this patch. So if you see any errors and you want to still be on master, if you use this patch, make sure that your git log shows this commit from Pierre. And that commit at least makes the app installable. And since the driver actually depends on the application, I would that is needed for the app to be used. So that would be my requirement. If you are on master and you see errors, at least make sure you have that commit. If even after that commit, your workflow doesn't really work, just ping me and I can help you move some of the workflow to 2.4, or I can see if it's an unrelated issue to this. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Perfect. And in any case, a quick look at the log should tell you if it says bundle requirement not satisfied or some things like that. It is most likely related to this issue I was talking about. If it's an issue related to the devices, to like connections or configuration, it's probably unrelated. This issue that I'm talking about happens really at the startup of the system. It does, even before connecting any device, even before sending any configuration, that's where you're gonna see the issue if you're in a state where it can happen. So that's kind of where we are. And the reason that I want to decouple the app from the drivers is that the drivers are things that can be used independently of the app, while the the app is not really independent from the drivers. So you can use the drivers with the intent subsystem, with singular CLI commands and other things that are present in ONOS, even if you don't install the ODTN service application. So that's why I want to do this decouplement.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions on this? Okay. If you guys are interested in why we had to do this removal of some code, you can go back and check some of the commits that we did, especially one from Thomas. That's where most of the code changes were removed. This was some stale code that was there, some old protocols, a few things that were not used, it were not tested, it were not really in a shape that we could use them. And unfortunately, under the cutting board, it fell some stuff that the ODTN application depended upon. And that is why you might see the error. But at least with this patch, you should be able to bring it up. So if you guys at Adtran, if you, guys at Adva, if you see the issue, just make sure that in your Git log before starting ONOS, you just have this commit. And if you do have it,
I will. Okay.
And if you do have it and still have the issue, just ping me and we can figure something out.
Yeah, sure, Andre. Just to give you an update on the driver status. So yes. It is that they started back to work just last week after a while, and they said that so the plan is to address your the comments that you provided maybe one month ago, few time ago, and to go toward to contribute the driver to the community. But then they had this kind of error, so they was asking me if I know something, so I can write later today to Jose and explain this situation, and maybe for the testing we can still try to use 2.4 and wait to say the finalization of the 2.5 as a version.
So yeah, definitely you can test with 2.4. Yeah. That is not an issue at all, especially because the driver is a self-contained element, and that's it. So you can just deploy it in 2.4, and that shouldn't be really an issue. You just cherry pick the commit. You shouldn't have any problems, and that would make it easier for you to test and develop. Then the contribution can be done on top of 2.5, and I can look at possibly backporting it to 2.4. But what's the status of the implementation? Anything that?
Yeah, the implementation was almost final, because so we also tested in the final demo of the Metrol project. We tested in a real test bed using the Adva quad flex transponders, and it was working fine. For the Metrol demonstration, we used some some hard-coded shortcut, and so the work that they did after the metro demonstration and now is essentially to remove this hard-coded part, so to obtain a version that is that can be contributed to the community mainly. And so we should test again this last version before committing.
Yep.
This is the plan.
Okay, sounds good. And yep, sounds good to me.
Yes, I'll let you know.
Anything else on this?
No, it's all on my site.
Okay, sounds good. Since I see Roberto on the call, is there any update on the Open Roadum work that you are doing, Roberto?
No big update up now.
Okay. Did you get to the bottom of some of the scalability issues that you were seeing?
I'm still investigating, but I'm guessing that there are some issues with the NetConf implementation in the core of ONOS, because I saw a wrong message idea sequence that was, let's say, creating a problem with the identification of the replies from the devices. So I saw that it is to be confirmed, but what I saw is that different messages sent by ONOS to the devices had the same message ID. And of course, the devices replied with the message ID from the requester from the RPC, and that was causing an issue in the ONOS, because it was not able to associate the reply to the correct request, and that was causing some more or less hanging on the session, the net confession between them.
Okay, that's interesting. Do you have any logs of this?
Yes, sure.
Okay, it would be great if you could open a Jira story to track this issue.
Okay.
And how many devices are we talking about, just for my personal understanding?
Okay, I tested different scenarios using the old Open Roadum driver that was at the beginning developed for the eventual whole project, and it was not released as a community contribution, but only as a contribution inside the project. I didn't have any issue because I guess it was not exercising, let's say, the protocol requiring so many requests and replies. And I tested with that successfully up to 300 devices. But using the recent and released ODTN drivers, even with 50 devices, I can see the issue I described earlier.
Okay, it would be interesting to understand what's the difference between those two drivers. Maybe the folks from the Metrohall project could shed some light in exactly like the diff between those two files, because it seems fairly strange that such an issue would appear with just the upstreaming of the driver. So it would be nice to understand exactly what's going on between the two. And maybe there is some missing patches that went into the Metro Hall one and not in the upstream version. But yeah, if you could do that investigation and give us a little bit of a thought on that, it would be very good.
I'm not promising I will do this because I'm quite engaged with other business in this period, but I can try.
Sounds good. And I can also maybe ask Ramon if he has any thoughts about this. Let me make a note here to him.
Yeah, and actually Ramon is the best person to ask because he did so he took the first version of the Metro driver and he generated the upstream version.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I think I'll just I pinned him and let's check that what he says. It's definitely something that I didn't really expect it to happen, but it can happen, and I'm not saying there's anything. As soon as you test at scale, there can be issues. What really makes me think is that it's not really an issue with ONOS itself, but more of an issue with the drivers. Usually, the message ID it's set by the netconf session if it's not provided by the creator of the message. It might be that the difference between these two, in these drivers, we actually provide the message ID, and that message ID is not an atomic integer or something like that, and there is some contention during the creation of the message, during the creation of the ID for the message. So we'll see. I'll make sure Ramon maybe puts an eye on it when he has some time and see where this leads us.
Okay, if you remember, I sent an email just to a restricted number of people. You were between them. Alessia and Ramon were the other two. Highlighting this behavior of the netconf protocol implementation in ONOS.
Yep.
And showing exactly the points where the message ID got wrong.
Okay.
I can resume the thread, the message thread. No problem.
Okay, thanks. Let's get that thread back up and see if we can fix this. Because most likely it's a small issue somewhere in the code base, so that's pretty good. So those were the topics I had for today. And I just wanted to give a brief update on like what's the status of the different things. Do you guys have any other element that you wanted to discuss?
Andrea, is there any update from the Polatis guys that wanted to use the do you remember the internet connectivity behavior?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I have not heard from them about this, most likely because they are busy doing something else given the current situation. I'm not really sure. I can ping them and see what's going on. I know that they were doing some ONOS related things with cross connection across the devices, but internally I have to check with them.
Yeah, also because that we now merged the behavior for the internet connectivity. Maybe you can just write them to say, oh, okay, now we have the behavior in the code. Maybe you can try to use.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll check with Michael and see what's up, what's the status of their stuff and things like that. Yeah, totally. And I remember you also had one implementation, because right now there is an upstream implementation which is basically a pass all. But I remember you also had an implementation which was an actual implementation based on a physical device, or am I remembering wrongly?
No. We have not any implementation. We have only this pass-all first deployment. Not only, my original idea was to integrate this new behavior into the optical intent compilation, and this is also a step to be done. What is now in the code is only the behavior that reply which are the possible connect point reachable from an input connect point, which are the possible output connect point.
Yes, this reminds me that you had done some work on the intent subsystem, which is this one.
Yes, but this was not about the ODTN. What to say, was more related to the compilation of link collection intent with something not related to optics.
Yeah.
Essentially, we can. It's something similar to what we did in the optic when we are specifying the wavelength to be used. Here is essentially allowing the when you specify a new point-to-point intent, you can ask a specific VLAN ID or MPLS label to be used. Essentially, this was something that was not possible to ask for a specific IDs, and now with this small patch, it is possible to ask an identifier.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. If you manage to get it integrated with the intent connectivity for your use cases, it would be great if you can stream that. If not, maybe somebody else will do it, and we're gonna take care of it.
Yeah, this is something that is on my agenda, but I don't know when I will try time to work on it.
Okay. Anybody else? Do you guys have any other comments? Points that you wanted to discuss? Any updates to give to the community?
Dominique speaking. I am planning to publish some new driver on the open terminals on the Muxponder version 2 of Nokia. So okay, it is on the pipe to be released.
Dominique.
Yeah.
Also, this behavior that we was speaking about may be also useful for typical Muxponders, because, for example, for the work that we did with ADVA, I don't know if this is also your case, but so they have many constraints in the sense that not all the input port of the Muxponder could be connected to all the output port, no? I don't know if this is also the Nokia case. So in case you can have a look, because this is essentially the reason why we have created this behavior. No, you can ask the device if for a certain, starting from a certain specific input port, you are allowed physically to go toward a specific output or not.
You mean from a client port, meaning for
example, for example, from a client port to a line port, you may have some, maybe you may have some constraint, for example, from from a first set of client ports, you can go only to line port 1. From the second set of line port, you can go to line port 2, for example. This kind of constraint can be modeled quite well with this behavior that we just integrated.
Mm-hmm. For the Muxponder, we don't have any constraint because any client port can be connected to the line port. And for the other version of the transponder that was published previously, there is no constraint either. Any client port can be configured to be connected to any output port because we have a 2-line port the version driver. So there is no constraints we have really a switch at this level. For Nokia case, but I can understand that for some other vendors, it can have some specific subset of client port to be connected to a dedicated line port.
Sure. And also you may need this because if you see ONOS, for example, if in a node you have many muxponders and all of them are connected to ONOS with a single, as a single node, typically this happens when you have many slots, no? So you have a single node with many slots. In each slot, you have a transponder, a muxponder. So in this case, you have this kind of constraint, no? Because from the input port or from the client port of a slot, you can go only to the line port of the same slot, no? So this is to model this kind of
okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, understand this point. Okay. Yeah. I see. Okay. No, for sure we okay. In this case, we have this type of constraint for sure to take into account. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. That's good. Do you have a timeline for that, Dominique?
Yes, I will. I will see. It's not me that is going to work on that, but it will be done on the coming on the coming. I should say weeks, maybe. Yeah. I hope. Hopefully, it can be. We can do some version, and we can work on that. Yeah. But from now, we are going to do that. Yeah. When it will be done. Okay, I will. I will tell you more later. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Sure, but it will be part of the ODTN driver. I should say. Yeah.
Okay.
Module.
Sounds good, and that is for the Muxponder device. And it will have the usual discovery, flow programmable, and the usual behaviors.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
And to name Sébastien that is connected here has worked a lot on that. Yeah. Sébastien Pradier. Mm-hmm.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks. And is this related to any deployment? Anything that looks promising for ONOS?
We don't have any, but in case there are some, I should say, proof of concept or demo or lab demo, yes, it can be planned. Yeah, we can discuss on that. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody have any other thoughts, comments, anything that needs to be shared with the group? No? Okay, then if not, thanks everybody for joining. Thanks for the great discussion. I look forward in fixing these issues that we were talking about, and making sure that it all works with the upstream ODTN, fixing the driver issue, and look forward to the update of the Nokia drivers and the Alpha drivers whenever they come. If you guys have anything, as usual, you can find me on Slack, and you can find me on the email. Just ping me a message, and I'll be available. Thanks everybody. Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.